Hello and welcome to the third video in our Macintosh lessons series. Today we're going to be going over what is the third day of our 4-day lesson plan on the topic. And that is going to consist of settings and system preferences. So some of the main points that we're going to be going over are Apple ID, family sharing, and all other overarching account-based things. Accounts, or specifically things related to your Apple account, things that are tied directly to, the machine and the account it associates as the owner of the machine. We're also going to be going over Wi-Fi and network settings, users, as well as internet accounts, which is opposed to the Apple ID. It is accounts that you can use for various applications such as email, calendar, notes, things of that nature. While some of this does tie into the Apple ID, it's not necessarily just an Apple ID account that goes under accounts. If you have any other sorts of email addresses, if you have a calendar somewhere, all of those can be implemented as well. Okay, so first up we have a representation of what system preferences looks like on the dock. As you can see, it is a gear or a cog symbol, gray or silver. This is a common icon across many different softwares and platforms that represents settings or preferences, basically more options and details surrounding whatever it is you're using. That's not the only way to get to system preferences, but we can go over that in a minute. And then here on the right in this window we have a representation of what system preferences looks like once you have it open. Okay, and let's go ahead and do that now with a live example. So as I said, the gear is not the only way to get to system preferences. You can also go up to the Apple on the top menu and then choose system preferences, and it too will take you into that same window that we just saw, and from here we're inside. And before moving on, I would like to go over each of these items in system preferences just with a brief explanation of what they are. We already go over Apple ID and family sharing within this video, so I'm not going to comment too much on those. General here takes us to what it sounds like, just general settings regarding the setup and layout of your computer. As you can see, things like appearance, the size and color of various aspects, default browser, things like that. Desktop and screensaver is a little bit more specific towards what your desktop background is going to be, how it's going to operate, as well as how your screensaver would operate. The dock and menu bar, this will take you to settings regarding the dock as well as the menu bar. Mission control, that is when you do this and take everything that's open and sort of spread it out. And when we go in there, there's keyboard functions into it. Currently on my keyboard it is F3, which has the ability to do that, and this allows you to edit some of the settings surrounding that state of the computer. Okay, Siri, pretty straightforward, but this is how, if you know anything about Siri, that is, this is how you get to settings regarding Siri. All right. And then Spotlight is going to allow you to cater the search results for your Spotlight search to what you would like to get results from. Language and region, fairly self-explanatory, but that's where you can set both the region, time, or not the time rather, the region, and what language you would like the computer to display by default. Notifications, this will take you to where you can curtail the settings of the type of notifications you get to your needs, how they'll be displayed, which ones will display the type of display that it's going to do. Internet accounts, these are the accounts that we use to tie to various applications, such as calendar, mail, things of that nature. It's where we are able to remove or add which accounts we would like and how they operate within those, or with rather, those applications. And then Wallet and Apple Pay, this is where you can go to set that up. Touch ID, which will only be there if you have a Touch ID reader on your Mac computer, and I do in this case, and this is where you would go to either add a new finger or a fingerprint, both really, or to change these settings here. Users and groups is something that is important to know if you are not the only one using your computer, or if it's a computer that's given to you, there's a good chance that you might not be an administrator necessarily. And an administrator is the person who is in control of the computer. An admin is short for administrator. So on my computer, I'm the only account that is active. So I don't have to worry too much about this, but say this was a computer that I shared with people, and they had their accounts as well. This is where you would go to manage those accounts. This is where you go to create those accounts. The admin has to do that and allow that, right? It's also where you can change your login credentials, what the computer will ask for, what it accepts. You can change your password to get into the computer here, and remember that that's a local password unrelated to any accounts. And anywhere within the system preferences, when you feel like, oh, like it's got the ability to add or subtract an account, but I can't get to it, you'll notice this lock here, and that is what will allow you to then make changes. So it's, as it seems, it's a lock for those features, and you can unlock it by entering your local password to your computer, which is also what I was just talking about, that can be changed here. So if I were to hit plus, I would be able to add a new user. Accessibility, this will give us our accessibility features. Some things like voiceover, zoom, certain display features, like changing the colors, reducing motion, and various other ease of access features. Screen time, which will allow you to see how much time you are using in various different applications, and also allow you to set a time frame where you want everything to be off. It's one thing that can be used to either monitor and keep track of your own screen time, or if it's your parent or guardian, that you can use this to monitor that of your child. Okay. Extensions. This is where you can come to see what type of extensions you have set for Apple right now. So like what things I'm able to share with others, how Finder interacts. These apps all were added to Finder so that if I have something that is saved within the structure of those applications, opposed to just in my normal file structure in Finder, now they will also show up there. Security and privacy, which is where you can go to also edit the password for your local account, as well as some of the requirements for you to log in, but also privacy in other manners, such as a firewall and just what has access to what. So for example, to be able to make a video like this, I have to allow Camtasia to have screen recording access. And as you can see, I can't change any of these right now because of the lock. Okay. And in this next half, we start off with software update. This is another way to get to software update besides going to about this Mac and doing that. They'll both do the same thing for you. Let's see if I have any updates. No, I do not. All right, network. This will take you to network preferences, so you can change the settings of your connection to the internet and look at what other networks are, in range of your device. And you can obviously change the settings to Wi-Fi, wired connection, Bluetooth. And speaking of Bluetooth, that is the next section here in system preferences. This is where you can go to see what devices you have connected to Bluetooth and their current status, as well as being able to turn Bluetooth on and off, whether you would like it to show in the menu bar, and some advanced features as well. Sound, fairly straightforward. It's going to give us settings regarding sound, both input and output. Printers and scanners, self-explanatory once again. It's going to show us what printers and scanners our computer already knows. Will also probably allow us to search for a printer. Yeah, add one. Trackpad. This allows you to edit trackpad features, such as which way scrolling works, how you zoom, the way that you can do a smart zoom, pointing and clicking, all of the gestures in general. And this is also where you can go to see what gestures there are if you weren't sure of how many there are and what your trackpad can do on a Mac, if it has one. Mouse, same idea, except for a mouse. I don't have a mouse, so it doesn't give me the options. Displays. This will take you into settings for your display on your Mac. Fairly straightforward. This next one is similar to displays, but it is a specific Apple feature that you can set up an iPad or I think maybe some other devices, but definitely iPad, to be sort of like a second monitor for your computer. Okay, battery. This is where we can check the battery status as well as any settings regarding it. Like if we wanted to do power saving mode, I think that would be here. Or it's not necessarily called that, but that's the same idea. Date and time. It's going to allow us to edit the date and time that our computer recognizes. So if yours is off, that is where you want to go to be able to set that right. Okay, and sharing is takes you into settings for what types of files and devices are going to be seen by your computer that are also on the network that your computer is connected to. So, if, for example, if it's a family house, you can decide what devices and or files are going to come through to your computer and or vice versa, go out to the network for others to connect to or see. Time machine is where you can go to set up backing up your Apple device, and this is Apple's backup software. There are obviously third-party softwares that you can use as well. Startup disk. This is where you choose which hard drive is going to be the one that is booting your computer when you start it up. Most of you, like me here, only have the one option, so it's not really something to worry about. And profiles are related to Apple specific apps. Like if when I was working with iMovie, that information is saved under a default iMovie profile created for me when I was using it. It's related to my Apple ID account. One of the reasons why there's that integration between your account and the computer. Okay, and moving on to the next slide, we have photo examples of how to access Wi-Fi and network settings. So our first photo here on the left is demonstrating the drop-down menu that you'll see when you click on the Wi-Fi icon in the top right of your screen on the top Apple menu bar. As you can see here in the picture in red, it is a focal point, a center dot with rays extending out from it. Kind of like how people might have drawn a sun in the corner of a picture or a piece of paper rather as a kid, and that again is a common icon used across different platforms and softwares that represents Wi-Fi or internet connectivity. The bars also represent the strength of the connection, as you can see here along this line. These are different networks within range of my device that have varying strengths. Okay, and then to get to this window on our right, which is more detailed view of our network preferences, we can go ahead and choose Open Network Preferences. Over here on the right, we have the network preferences menu. So as you can see back on the left, we can get there by going to network preferences. Once again, there's other ways to get there, but once you do get there, this is what you'll see. And from here, you can get various other more detailed information about your network and your specific connection. For example, to automatically join this network, which would be useful if you have a MacBook, so a laptop that you bring to and from this location, so that instead of having to manually connect to the network every time that you're in the location, the device will just remember and connect for you. Okay, and we can go over some live examples of that as well. Okay, so up here in the top right, we have the Wi-Fi icon I was mentioning, and we can hit this to get to network preferences. However, from the general system preferences menu, we can also get to network settings. So like I said, there's various different ways to get to the same location, and this is something that you will continuously run into on Macs or any sort of device these days. It's part of making things potentially easier for everyone, so that there's some sort of continuity. Okay, and now in network preferences, we have our Wi-Fi, so what we are currently connected to, whether we are or not. This will toggle our Wi-Fi receptor on or off, so that your device won't even be able to receive those signals of networks if I were to hit this, or if you were to do the same. This is the name of the current network you're connected to. We went over this to automatically join the network. Asked to join personal hotspots. That's similar to automatically join this network. However, it is related to hotspots, which are networks generated through cell service. So like a cell phone or another device that has cellular data can create a network in a small area around that device that other devices can connect to through Wi-Fi. And this last option here, which I have off right now, is to automatically try and choose a network for you when you're not currently on one. So if you have your device and you're in a new location where you don't have an internet connection, if this was checked and turned on, that means that the networks would pop up, or a menu would pop up rather, giving you a list of the networks and giving you the option to try and connect to them, or the computer would just try and connect to any unlocked networks that were within range. So right here is how we can turn on and off that icon in the top right. So if you're at your Mac and you don't see that, what you can do is go into System Preferences, then go to Network, and make sure that this is on, so that you will in fact see it up there. And as you can see, when I click it, the icon then disappears. Okay, and now we can check out these two options. I would say not to worry about them too much. The Bluetooth pan is where you go to set up your Bluetooth devices. Or this is where you can see a list of all your Bluetooth devices, allowing you to set up a new one from here. Go to advanced for specifically Bluetooth advanced settings. And Bluetooth is another type of wireless connection that uses a slightly different technology, obviously, and that technology is called Bluetooth, and it uses radio waves instead of a Wi-Fi signal. If we do go into the advanced settings under Wi-Fi, we can see a lot more information regarding networks that we have saved, which networks take priority in terms of which we would join first if there are multiple within the same location. Essentially, we just have even more settings concerning deeper aspects of your computer's way of connecting with various different networks and getting you on the internet. Okay, and moving on to the next slide, we have some photo examples of internet accounts, users and groups, Apple ID, and family sharing. Now, all of these can be found within that initial system preferences window. So all of these icons will appear there. Each of these is their own topic, but just to sort of tie in the main points from the beginning of the video, these are some of the more important and or basic things that you need to have set up for a lot of the day-to-day functions for your computer to be running properly. Alright, so now let's go over some examples of those things and system preferences. Okay, and as you can see, we have the Apple ID and family sharing icons in the top right of our system preferences menu. And we also have internet accounts as well as users and groups. This may vary depending on your model. Don't worry about every single icon being in the exact same location, or the color schemes to necessarily be exactly the same. Those are the type of things that can change from software version to software version, from device to device, things like that. Next, let's go into the Apple ID. So, what your Apple ID is your account that connects you to both Apple and any sort of previous history you have with Apple and using their products, as well as connects you and that account to this machine. So here we can see specifically that I have my personal Apple ID tied to my personal MacBook Air, which is this. And from here we can access a variety of things concerning my Apple ID, which are important to know, to keep track of, and important to keep secure, which is why I'm not going to show you them on my account. Over on the right, we currently see which apps on my Mac are using iCloud, which is the cloud storage space that is tied with your Apple ID or Apple account. and that's showing up because iCloud is selected. And so everything with a check mark is going to be something that utilizes iCloud and has information in the cloud for me to access on other devices that I can log into my Apple account on. And media and purchases, this is how you can set up what this device needs for you to make purchases surrounding your Apple ID, so specifically through the App Store, and anything directly through an Apple menu, whether it's in the computer software itself or online. And under media and purchases, we have the option to turn our Touch ID on or off for purchases, and this will not be an option if you don't have a Touch ID, as well as the ability to change the settings for needing a password or Touch ID for things like free downloads and in-app purchases. We also have access to our subscriptions, where we can click this button and it would allow us to manage all of our current subscriptions that are tied to our Apple ID. So if you ever have used your iPhone or have signed up to a subscription app on your computer through the App Store, then this is where that subscription will exist. This is where it will allow you to cancel it or to see the details behind it. Okay, and in the family sharing menu, we have my family, and that is because my Apple account is part of a family structure. So in this case, my mother, Edith Ackerman, is the organizer of our family, and since everyone else in the family is an adult as well, we are all classified as such. We have adult accounts, and we have full access to our accounts. However, it is still underneath the organizer in a hierarchical manner. So you may not be able to set up certain aspects to be completely independent from the organizer, such as how you pay for things through Apple Pay. So anything in the App Store that you were to pay for would be charged to the organizer or whatever card is associated with the family sharing, and that is the type of thing that you can change in family sharing settings. Okay, so let's go back to our slideshow, and this is where we give some final thoughts on the lesson. As it says here, administrative information and actions are what we find in system preferences and settings. Syncing accounts and devices, as well as checking your Wi-Fi connection, all fall into these categories. And then in the next lesson, we will go over the applications on your Mac that Apple owns and are preloaded onto your computer. This is where I would then ask for questions and say thanks. Thank you very much for watching part 3 of our Macintosh computer lessons, and stay tuned for part 4.